everyone, I'm Rashmi Mangla, working as an assistant professor with the BBA department of St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. The subject that I'll be taking up is Human Rights and Values. This is our 14th lecture of HRV. Now, the topics that we'll be covering today are Government System for Redressal, which will include Judiciary, National Human Rights Commission and other statutory commissions. We had already covered, various topics like violation of human rights and terrorism and nuclear weapons in the previous lectures. So today we'll be dealing with the government system which provides redressal and helps us in protection of rights. So various provisions we'll be studying. Now first we will begin with judiciary. See, the judiciary of the country is majorly responsible for protection of rights and redressal of grievances related to them. So whatever grievances we have, it is redressed by the judiciary. Now, judiciary in every country has the obligation to protect human rights of citizens. And as per the Constitution of India, this duty is assigned to Supreme Court and High Courts. In India, the duty has been given to Supreme Court and High Court. Now, along with judiciary, Government of India, what they do is, it has established independent body for redressal of human rights violations, which is also called the National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission, which comes under the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. So these bodies have also been established so that we can protect the human rights. Now, see various provisions under which or provisions under right to constitutional remedies of Constitution of India. It says that those whose rights have been violated have right to approach high courts and supreme courts for judicial rectification, redressal and enforcement of human rights. So any person whose rights have been violated under the constitutional remedies, right to constitutional remedies, so they have a right that they can go to the Supreme Court and they can appeal for the enforcement of their rights. So we'll be studying to some major provisions that are given to us are under article number 32. It provides some provisions which are given as follows. Let's see them. The right to move to Supreme Court, it gives us, article 32 gives us a right to move to Supreme Court by appropriate proceedings for the enforcement of the right. In case we want to enforce, we have a right and we can move to the Supreme Court for enforcement of those rights. Secondly, the Supreme Court shall have power to issue directions or orders for the enforcement of the rights. Now, Supreme Court has the power that they can issue directions or they can give orders for the enforcement of the rights. Thirdly, the right guaranteed by this article shall not be suspended. Nobody can suspend that right except as otherwise provided for by this Constitution. Until and unless something is provided in the Constitution, so the right which Supreme Court gives, it cannot be suspended. Then, this article, fourth point, this article grants power to Supreme Court to enforce the fundamental rights and provides guaranteed and quick remedy for enforcing the fundamental rights. So, under this article, Supreme Court gets a power कि वो fundamental right enforce कर सकते हैं and they can provide guarantee and remedy for enforcement of such rights. Last one, Supreme Court is protector and guarantor of the fundamental rights. So ultimately Supreme Court is called the protector of these fundamental rights. Then that was all about article 32. Now we have one more article covered under this, article number 226. Now under this article, the high courts have concurrent jurisdiction within the Supreme Court in the matter granting relief in case of violation of fundamental rights. So high courts can also grant a relief whenever fundamental rights have been violated. That was the first one, first government redressal system. Now we move on to the second system, that is National Human Rights Commission, NHRC. Now NHRC of India, it is an independent statutory body which was established on 12th October 1993 and it was established as per provisions of Protection of Human Rights Act 1993, and this act, it later got amended in the year 2006. So some changes were made. Now it is NHRC. It is the watchdog of human rights in the country. It basically, it looks after the human rights. That is the right related to life, liberty, equality, and dignity of the individual, guaranteed by the institutional Indian Constitution or embodied in the international convents and enforceable by courts in India. So, NHRC is majorly looking after the human rights in the country. And this was established in conformity with Paris Principles, which was adopted for the promotion and protection of human rights in Paris. So, on the basis of that, we had set up a National Human Rights Commission in India. Now, there are various elements of NHRC, like we have the chairman, we have secretary general, we have various members. Next, we will be studying the functions and powers of NRC. Now, NHRC, it has got various functions and powers. Let's see them. NHRC investigates grievances regarding the violation of human rights either suo motu or after receiving a petition. So, once a petition has been received, NHRC can investigate on the grievances which are regarding the violation of human rights. Then, it has the power to interfere in any judicial proceedings involving any allegation of violation of human rights. So, wherever there has been an allegation that human rights have been violated, so NHRC can interfere in those proceedings. Then, it can visit any jail or any other institution under the control of the state government to seek the living conditions of the inmates and to make recommendations thereon. So, NHRC can visit any jail or any other institution which is under the control of state government, so that they can check the living conditions of the people there and they can make some recommendations if required. Then, it can review the safeguards provided under the Constitution or any law for the protection of human rights and can recommend appropriate remedial measures. So, remedial measures can also be given by NHRC. NHRC undertakes and promotes research in field of human rights. So, it promotes research in field of human rights. Then, NHRC works to spread human rights literacy among various sections of society. And not only it spreads literacy, but it also promotes awareness about the safeguards that are available for protection of these rights. And the awareness can be made via like using various publications, using media, or conducting seminars or various other means. Then, it also has the powers of a civil court and can grant interim relief. Quick relief can be provided. And it also has the authority to recommend payment of compensation or damages. If any if any damage has been caused to other person because of the violation of any right, so it can also recommend for the payment of such compensation. So these are some of the functions and powers of NHRC. Now we'll study the next major heading, that is other statutory commission. Now under other statutory commission, we have various commissions which are set up on different groups within India. Like first one, we have State Human Rights Commission. Now State Human Rights Commission, SHRC, the act provides for establishment of SHRC by the respective state governments, and now its composition is almost similar to NHRC. Its appointment is also done in the same way, and its tenure is also for 5 years or 70 years of age, whichever is earlier. So it's almost like NHRC. The second one, which comes under other statutory provisions, is National Commission for Minorities, that is NCM. Now central government, it set up National Commission for Minorities under the National Commission for Minorities Act 1992. And 6 communities were declared as minority communities in India. These are Muslims, Christians, Sikh, Buddhist, Parsis and Jains. So these were the major communities which were declared as minorities in India. Then we have National Commission for Scheduled Caste. Now along with Scheduled Caste, we also have National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, which are almost similar. Let's see in detail. See, at the time of independence, some communities in India, they were suffering from extreme social and economic backwardness. And these communities, they were notified as scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. And it was made under the provisions of Article 341 subclause 1 and Article 342 subclause 1 of the Constitution. So they were declared as scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Now Article 338 of Constitution provided for appointment of a special office. They provided that a special office shall be appointed to ensure implementation of safeguard for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, and to investigate all matters related to this, so that their rights can be safeguarded. So for that a special office was appointed. And not only this, initially there was a commissioner who was appointed for this purpose, but after certain amendments, so a single member special office was replaced with a multiple member system. There were many members then. And after later on again in like 1987, the whole system was changed and it was named as National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe. So now next is, as I told you, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. Now they both have almost similar functions. Both have, the first function is investigation. It deals with the investigation of all matters related to safeguard of rights of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Then evaluation. It evaluates the working of such safeguards which are provided by Constitution or any other laws. Then complaint handling. NCST deals with the specific complaints, that is National Commission for Scheduled Tribe. It deals with specific complaints which are related to the right of scheduled tribes, and similarly for National Commission for Scheduled Caste, they will be dealing with complaints of SC. Then advisory function. Now we have this function mainly for scheduled tribes. It also advises in the planning process which is related to socio-economic development of scheduled tribes. Then we have reporting. In reporting, it presents annual and special reports on the working of their working to the president. Then recommendations. It suggests some measures which are required for effective or implementation of programs which are related to development and welfare of scheduled tribes. And similarly we have recommendations for scheduled caste also. So these are the functions of NCST, and similar kind of functions we have for NCSC as well. Now the last commission that we have is National Commission for Women, NCW. This committee recommended the setting up of a National Commission for Women to facilitate redressal of grievances and to accelerate the socio-economic development of women. So this commission was mainly set up to hear the grievances of all the women's. And in 1990, Government of India passed National Commission for Women Act. Now there were various functions of National Commission of Women which I'll just tell you in brief. Like first one was reviewing constitutional and legal safeguards for women. So various laws were formed like Indian Penal Code 1860, Commission of Sati Act 1987, Hindu Marriage Act 1995. So under various laws, various amendments were made to safeguard the rights of the women. And not only that, another function was facilitating redressal of grievances. Whatever grievances they had, so they were redressed, and they were just provide redressal for those, like handling complaints of Indian women which are deserted by their overseas Indian husbands, or maybe assistance to the victims in various cases, or recommending remedial measures. So these were some of the functions that NCW did. That's all for today. Let's see some of the questions based on today's concept. What do you understand by judiciary as redressal system for violation of human rights, and what are the provisions made under Article 32 and Article 226? Second, what do you mean by National Human Rights Commission and what are the functions of it? What are the other statutory commissions available as redressal mechanism for violation of human rights? And you can describe any three over there, but you should be thorough with all. That's all for today, children. Stay tuned for the upcoming lectures. Thank you.